Namaskar and welcome. You're watching News Connect. It's Sunday, it's 4 p.m. evening, and in the next 1 hour, we're going to get you all the top national and international stories that are trending. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and on News Connect, here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi shares his thoughts in the 74th edition of Mann Ki Baat, asserts that the self-reliant India has now become a national sentiment, flowing in the hearts of common folks. On the occasion of National Science Day, Prime Minister says science can significantly contribute in the Self-Reliant India campaign. Prime Minister Modi says it's our collective responsibility to conserve water resources, urges people to start 100-day campaign for cleaning up water sources and conserving rainwater. Jal Shakti Ministry to also launch mission with its credo, catch the rain where it falls when it falls. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates ISRO and its commercial arm New Space India Limited for first dedicated commercial launch of PSLV C-51 Amazonia 1 mission. Says this ushers in a new era of space reforms in the country. ISRO today launches 19 satellites with Brazil's Amazonia 1 as the primary payload. Political parties begin campaigning for the upcoming assembly polls. Home Minister Amit Shah addresses public rally in Puducherry, attacks previous Congress-led governments for not implementing central schemes. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi addresses rally in Tirunelveli, Tamil Nadu. Left Congress Alliance also kicks off its campaign in West Bengal. Polling underway for civic polls for 81 municipalities along with 31 district panchayats and 231 taluk panchayats. Voting also being held for by-polls to 5 municipal wards in Delhi. Centre announces guidelines for upscaling COVID-19 vaccination from tomorrow. Private sector participation being scaled up in COVID-19 vaccination. Private hospitals can charge up to Rs 250 per person per dose. A total of 1 crore 42 vaccine doses administered so far. And in international news, US Food and Drug Administration issues an emergency use authorization for a third safe and effective Janssen COVID-19 vaccine to help defeat the COVID-19 pandemic. And on News Connect, first up, let's take a look at the top national stories. National Science Day is being observed today. The day is celebrated every year on 28th of February to commemorate the discovery of the Raman effect. Addressing the 74th edition of Mann Ki Baat, Prime Minister Modi hailed the contribution of scientist community in India.
National Science Day is celebrated each year on 28 February to mark the discovery of the Raman effect by Indian physicist Sir C.V. Raman on 28 February 1928. Addressing the 74th edition of Mann Ki Baat, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the contribution of scientist community of India on National Science Day.
आज नेशनल साइंस डे भी है। आज का दिन भारत के महान वैज्ञानिक डॉक्टर सीवी रमन जी द्वारा की गई रमन इफेक्ट खोज को समर्पित है। केरल से योगेश्वरन जी ने नमो ऐप पर लिखा है कि रमन इफेक्ट की खोज ने पूरी विज्ञान की दिशा को बदल दिया था। इससे जुड़ा हुआ एक बहुत अच्छा संदेश मुझे नासिक के स्नेहिल जी ने भी भेजा है। स्नेहिल जी ने लिखा है कि हमारे देश के अनगिनत वैज्ञानिक हैं जिनके योगदान के बिना साइंस इतनी प्रगति नहीं कर सकती थी। हम जैसे दुनिया के दूसरे वैज्ञानिकों के बारे में जानते हैं, वैसे ही हमें भारत के वैज्ञानिकों के बारे में भी जानना चाहिए। मैं भी मन की बात के इन श्रोताओं की बात से सहमत हूँ। मैं जरूर चाहूँगा कि हमारे युवा भारत के वैज्ञानिक इतिहास को, हमारे वैज्ञानिकों को जाने, समझे और खूब पढ़ें।
Prime Minister also specially mentioned the power of science in providing impetus to the idea of self-reliant India. He also stressed on taking science forward with the mantra of lab to land.
जब हम साइंस की बात करते हैं तो कई बार इसे लोग फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री या फिर लैब्स तक ही सीमित कर देते हैं, लेकिन साइंस का विस्तार तो इससे कहीं ज्यादा है। और आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान में साइंस की शक्ति का बहुत योगदान भी है। हमें साइंस को लैब टू लैंड के मंत्र के साथ आगे बढ़ाना होगा।
While referring to various innovations of science in India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded the works of Hyderabad-based farmer Chintala Venkat Reddy. He developed various breeds of wheat and rice that specially contain vitamin D.
हैदराबाद के चिंतला वेंकट रेड्डी जी हैं। रेड्डी जी के एक डॉक्टर मित्र ने उन्हें एक बार विटामिन डी की कमी से होने वाली बीमारियां और उसके खतरों के बारे में बताया। रेड्डी जी किसान हैं। उन्होंने सोचा कि वो इस समस्या के समाधान के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं। इसके बाद उन्होंने मेहनत की और गेहूं, चावल की ऐसी प्रजातियों को विकसित की जो खास तौर पर विटामिन डी से युक्त है। इसी महीने उन्हें वर्ल्ड इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिनेवा से पेटेंट भी मिली है।
Prime Minister said many experiments are being done to create wealth from agricultural waste in the country. Bureau Report, DD India.
And with the country celebrating Magh Purnima on Friday earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also made the nation realize the importance of water. And also in his 74th edition of Mann Ki Baat, Prime Minister Modi stressed upon the delicate relationship between water and civilizations.
Ahead of World Water Day on March 22nd, Prime Minister Narendra Modi stressed upon the need for water conservation and said that we should begin efforts right away and conserve water as the summer season is approaching. Prime Minister also enumerated various steps taken to conserve water. Prime Minister lauded the efforts of locals from Tamil Nadu's Thiruvannamalai, where they are running a campaign for conservation of wells in their village.
कुछ दिनों बाद मार्च महीने में ही 22 तारीख को वर्ल्ड वाटर डे भी है। मुझे यूपी की आराध्या जी ने लिखा है कि दुनिया में करोड़ों लोग अपने जीवन का बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा पानी की कमी को पूरा करने में ही लगा देते हैं। बिन पानी सब सून, ऐसे ही नहीं कहा गया है। पानी के संकट को हल करने के लिए एक बहुत ही अच्छा मैसेज पश्चिम बंगाल के उत्तर दिनाजपुर से सुजीत जी ने मुझे भेजा है। सुजीत जी ने लिखा है कि प्रकृति ने जल के रूप में हमें एक सामूहिक उपहार दिया है, इसलिए इसे बचाने की जिम्मेदारी भी सामूहिक है। ये बात सही है, जैसे सामूहिक उपहार है वैसे ही सामूहिक उत्तरदायित्व भी है। सुजीत जी की बात बिल्कुल सही है। नदी, तालाब, झील, वर्षा या जमीन का पानी, ये सब हर किसी के लिए है। साथियों, एक समय था जब गांव में कुएं, पोखर, इनकी देखभाल सब मिलकर करते थे। अब ऐसा ही एक प्रयास तमिलनाडु के तिरुवन्नामलाई में हो रहा है। यहाँ स्थानीय लोगों ने अपने कुओं को संरक्षित करने के लिए अभियान चलाया हुआ है। ये लोग अपने इलाके में वर्षों से बंद पड़े सार्वजनिक कुओं को फिर से जीवित कर रहे हैं।
Besides, Prime Minister also mentioned the struggle of a villager, Babita Rajput, in Agrotha village in Madhya Pradesh, where she is mobilizing a campaign to rejuvenate the dried up lakes in her village.
मध्य प्रदेश के अग्रोधा गांव की बबीता राजपूत जी भी जो कर रही है, उससे आप सभी को प्रेरणा मिलेगी। बबीता जी का गांव बुंदेलखंड में है। उनके गांव के पास कभी एक बहुत बड़ी झील थी जो सूख गई थी। उन्होंने गांव की ही दूसरी महिलाओं को साथ लिया और झील तक पानी ले जाने के लिए एक नहर बना दी। इस नहर से बारिश का पानी सीधे झील में जाने लगा। अब ये झील पानी से भरी रहती है।
Bringing another inspirational story from the mountains, Prime Minister lauded the efforts of Jagdish Kunyal from Bageshwar, Uttarakhand. Jagdish Kunyal started a unique initiative to plant trees to bring the dried lakes back to life.
उत्तराखंड के बागेश्वर में रहने वाले जगदीश कुनियाल जी का काम भी बहुत कुछ सिखाता है। जगदीश जी का गांव और आसपास का क्षेत्र पानी की जरूरतों के लिए एक प्राकृतिक स्रोत पर निर्भर था, लेकिन कई साल पहले ये स्रोत सूख गया। इससे पूरे इलाके में पानी का संकट गहराता चला गया। जगदीश जी ने इस संकट का हल वृक्षारोपण से करने की ठानी। उन्हें पूरे इलाके में गांव के लोगों के साथ मिलकर हजारों पेड़ लगाए और आज उनके इलाके का सूख चुका वो जल स्रोत फिर से भर गया है।
Making us understand our collective responsibilities, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that within a few days from now, Jal Shakti Abhiyan Catch the Rain will be initiated by Jal Shakti Ministry. He underlined its credo as Catch the Rain where it falls, when it falls. Prime Minister Modi urged citizens to commit themselves to get existing rainwater harvesting systems repaired, clean up the lakes and ponds in villages and remove impediments in way of water flowing into water sources, thus fully utilizing the resources to conserve rainwater to the maximum.
And staying with Prime Minister's takeaways from today's broadcast of Man Ki Baat, discussing about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, Prime Minister also said that the first condition for self-reliance is to have pride in the things of one's own country. He added that self-reliant India doesn't remain just an economic campaign but also becomes a national spirit when every countryman can take pride, every countryman connects.
आत्मनिर्भरता की पहली शर्त होती है अपने देश की चीजों पर गर्व होना, अपने देश के लोगों द्वारा बनाई वस्तुओं पर गर्व होना। जब प्रत्येक देशवासी गर्व करता है, प्रत्येक देशवासी जुड़ता है, तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत सिर्फ एक आर्थिक अभियान न रहकर एक नेशनल स्पिरिट बन जाता है।
In his Man Ki Baat program, also Prime Minister Modi remembered the teachings of Sant Ravidas, who was a social reformer and a spiritual figure. He is well known for making efforts in eradicating caste system.
एकई माटी के सब भांडे, सबका एको सृजनहार। रविदास व्यापई एकई घट भीतर, सबको एकई घड़े कुम्हार। हम सभी एक ही मिट्टी के बर्तन हैं, हम सभी को एक ने ही गढ़ा है। संत रविदास जी ने समाज में व्याप्त विकृतियों पर हमेशा खुलकर अपनी बात कही। उन्होंने इन विकृतियों को समाज के सामने रखा, उसे सुधारने की राह दिखाई। और तभी तो मीरा जी ने कहा था, गुरु मिलिया रैदास, दीनी ज्ञान की घुटकी।
Let's now move on to some other news. ISRO has successfully launched PSLV C-51 Amazonia 1 mission today. PSLV C-51 carrying Amazonia 1 is an optical Earth observation satellite from Brazil, and 18 other satellites left off from the first launch pad at the Space Center at 10:24 a.m. this morning. The launch is the 53rd flight of the PSLV and the 78th launch vehicle mission from Sriharikota Spaceport. On the occasion, Brazil's Minister of Science and Technology, Marcos Caesar, was also present. He expressed happiness over the successful launch of the mission. ISRO's chairman, Dr. K. Sivan, also congratulated the entire team. He said it is first ever satellite to be designed and developed with Brazil.
I am extremely happy to declare that PSLV C-51 successfully launched in the precise orbit of Amazonia 1 today. In this mission, India and ISRO feel extremely proud and honored and happy to launch the first satellite designed, integrated and operated by Brazil. The satellite is in very good health and solar panels are deployed and is functioning very nicely.
Also, Brazil's Minister of Science and Technology, Marco Cesar, who was also present at the occasion, said that the satellite would kickstart a new era of Brazil's satellite industry. He added that PSLV C-51 is one step towards India-Brazil partnership, which would further boost the relationship.
First of all, it's one more satellite to monitor the country, the Amazon, and other biomes in Brazil. As well, it represents a new era of the Brazilian industry for satellites and development in Brazil. It brings inside peace the multi-mission platform that can be used for other satellites. So it's very important, and I could choose better place to be than here in India with all our partnership, and this is very important. This is one step, important step with this partnership that is going to grow up very much.
Expressing happiness over the successful launch of PSLV C-51 Amazonia 1 mission today, Prime Minister also took to Twitter to congratulate the entire team. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "Congratulations to New Space India Limited and ISRO on the success of the first dedicated commercial launch of PSLV C-51 Amazonia 1 mission. This ushers in a new era of space reforms in the country. 18 co-passengers included 4 small satellites that showcase dynamism and innovation of our youth." And in another tweet, Prime Minister also congratulated the Brazilian president on the successful launch. In a tweet, Prime Minister said, and I quote again, "Congratulations, President Jair Bolsonaro, on the successful launch of Brazil's Amazonia 1 satellite by PSLV C-51. This is a historic moment in our space cooperation, and my felicitations to the scientists of Brazil." And my senior colleague Philip Matthew joins us on phone line to tell us more about the significance of this ISRO launch. And as we play out those visuals of the launch earlier, Philip, thank you very much for joining us on News Connect. Very quickly, run us through the significance of this big feat.
Well, Sakal, you must remember that the PSLV is the workhorse rocket of the Indian Space Research Organization. And for quite a while now, in fact, for the last decade or more, ISRO has been trying to market its launch capabilities using, of course, the legendary capabilities of the PSLV as a very cost-effective launch service provider. And that is what this particular launch has, in a sense, reaffirmed. Because the fact that Brazil, another major developing country, has now chosen to partner India in the launch of one of its most prestigious satellites, Amazonia 1, clearly shows the faith and confidence that space agencies around the world are now showing in India, and in particular in ISRO's capabilities to launch medium-sized satellites. And that is something that will go a long way in boosting ISRO's share of the launch market, and it will also reaffirm India's credentials as a low-cost provider of space launch services globally.
And a bit more on the significance in the sense what all these set of 19 satellites can really aid in.
Well, the Amazonia 1, of course, will provide remote sensing data to users for monitoring deforestation in the Amazon region, as it's been so aptly named. And of course, it will analyze agricultural operations across the entire, landmass of Brazil. There are 18 other satellites. One, of course, is the Satish Dhawan satellite, which is built by a startup in Chennai, and of course UnitySat, which is a combination of 3 satellites designed and built by college students in Coimbatore, Sri Perumbudur, and Nagpur. There's of course a couple of technology demonstration satellites, and one from India and another from the US, and of course 12 satellites which will be used for two-way satellite communications and data relay. So essentially, the whole idea of this launch is, it's the first dedicated commercial launch as far as NSIL, or the New Space India Limited, is concerned, which is a company that's been set up specifically to commercialize ISRO's operations, launch operations, and this is the first such mission. So clearly, this is likely to be the first of many more. And the fact that so many satellites have been sent on board is an attempt, of course, to bring down the cost of launch services and to ensure that it's cost effective not just for the clients, but also for others who would like to avail ISRO services or NSIL services in the near future.
And in this one, since we have collaborated with Brazil, Prime Minister has also, in fact, congratulated the Brazilian president. But just to share it with the viewers, Philip, if you could just elaborate this bit. Prime Minister tweeted, and not only he congratulated, there's a specific mention of the youth. Prime Minister says, and I quote, that 18 co-passengers included 4 small satellites that showcases dynamism and innovation of our youth. This is also being done in collaboration with the New Space India Limited. So that also makes it extremely significant. The new young brigade of scientists also pitching in this particular project.
Absolutely. In fact, if you look at the profile of many of these new age companies that are now emerging in the space sector, many of them are startups which are consist of 2 or 3 young budding scientists. Basically, many of them with a passion for space sciences. Many of them dedicating time, energy, and money to come up with various applications in the space sector, whether it's remote sensing, whether it's the communication satellites, whatever. The idea clearly is to ensure that they are at the cutting edge of space technology, and many of these startups are engaged in such exciting ventures that Prime Minister Modi's reference to them clearly indicates that there is a bubbling up of talent, if you like, across the board as far as the space sector is concerned, and that is true of very many aspects of science and technology today. So it's clear that the youth are in the vanguard of this particular mission and in the vanguard of this revolution as far as science and technology is concerned, and we can expect to see more of these exciting developments in the days ahead.
Yes, on that positive note, thank you very much, Philip Matthews, for joining us from Chennai. Thank you. And now let's move on to the other news that we are tracking. Home Minister Amit Shah addressed a public rally in Karaikal in Puducherry and Tamil Nadu. Remember, assembly elections are slated to take place in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry. These elections will be held in single phases on April 6th in these 2 states and 1 union territory. Amit Shah said that previous Congress-led government did not implement the schemes launched by central government. However, he added that the BJP government will implement all those schemes for the common man if BJP comes to power.
कांग्रेस आरोप लगा रही है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने उनकी सरकार को गिराया। भाई, आपने मुख्यमंत्री ऐसा व्यक्ति बनाया था जो अपने सर्वोच्च नेता के सामने ट्रांसलेशन करने में भी झूठ बोले। इस प्रकार के झूठे व्यक्ति को आपने मुख्यमंत्री बनाया।
Amit Shah also referred the video of a fisherwoman which was wrongly translated by the then Chief Minister V. Narayanasamy.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने 115 से ज्यादा योजनाओं को यहां भेजकर पुडुचेरी के सर्वांगीण विकास के लिए आगे कदम बढ़ाए, मगर यहां एक सरकार थी जो छोटी पॉलिटिक्स करना चाहती थी। इनके मन में डर था कि अगर ये योजनाएं पुडुचेरी के अंदर लोकप्रिय होती है तो उनकी नींव खत्म हो जाएगी। इन्होंने योजनाओं को नीचे नहीं दिया। नारायणसामी की सरकार इसके लिए जिम्मेदार है, मगर मैं आज आपको वादा करता हूं, एक बार आप भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मैंडेट दीजिए, एक छोटे से राज्य को हम भारत का गहना बनाकर दुनिया के सामने रखेंगे।
Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan offered prayers at Kalighat Temple in Kolkata. Speaking on the current situation in West Bengal, he pointed out a noticeable wave of change among the people of the state. He also said that rampant corruption by Congress and TMC has not allowed many of the central government schemes to reach the real beneficiaries, adding that people want to see change in West Bengal.
चुनाव का सवाल है। पश्चिम बंगाल में परिवर्तन की लहर चल रही है। बर्बाद किया कांग्रेस ने और कम्युनिस्टों ने, बर्बाद में तबाह किया टीएमसी ने, और इसलिए इस समय मैं देख रहा हूं निश्चित तौर पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी चुनाव जीतेगी।
Congress too is intensifying its campaign for assembly polls in Tamil Nadu and down south. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi offered his prayers at Lord Shiva at Arumigu Nilaiper temple, which is in Tirunelveli in Tamil Nadu. Later, Rahul Gandhi addressed a rally at Tirunelveli. He promised that Congress government will work for poor, also stressing upon the need for made in India products.
I want to see made in India, made in Tamil Nadu behind this telephone. And this can easily be done by the youngsters of Tamil Nadu, if only the government of Tamil Nadu supports them and builds them up. So that is the type of government we want, one that is sensitive to poor people, one that is creating jobs, one protecting farmers.
And left Congress Indian Secular Front or ISF alliance today also kicked off its campaign in West Bengal with a rally in Kolkata. CPIM General Secretary Sitaram Yechuri, leader of the Congress in Lok Sabha and West Bengal Pradesh Congress President Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, CPI General Secretary D. Raja and ISF founder also addressed the rally together. And election activity is also gathering a lot of momentum in poll-bound states. The other states, DMK President M.K. Stalin today reached his party headquarters to summit his willingness from Chennai. It was a willingness form in Chennai. Tamil Nadu Assembly polls, remember, will be conducted in single phase on April 6th. Counting of votes and the results are going to be announced on May 2nd. RJD leader and Tejaswi Yadav met all India United Democratic Front chief Badruddin Ajmal in Guwahati and discussed the upcoming assembly polls in Assam. He had yesterday announced that his party will contest polls in Assam. The election to the 126 member state assembly will be held in 3 phases in Assam. And staying with news from Assam, Bodoland People's Front joins Congress-led Grand Alliance in Guwahati. BPF on Saturday had announced that it was quitting the alliance headed by the ruling BJP in Assam and joined the Operation Front. BJP National President JP Nadda today arrived in Varanasi in UP. He addressed the party workers at Harua in Varanasi. BJP President stressed on Mera Booth Sabka Mazboot campaign to strengthen the party's booth-level organization. The meeting was also attended by Chief Minister of UP, Yogi Adityanath. Shifting focus from UP to Gujarat. In Gujarat, the polling is underway for the general elections of 81 municipalities, 31 district panchayats and 231 taluk panchayats. Polling began at 7 in the morning and will continue till 6. By-polls for 23 municipalities and 3 taluka panchayats are also being held simultaneously, and more than 2 crore 50 lakh voters are eligible to cast their vote in today's polling. Out of 2,729 seats across 680 wards of 81 municipalities, 95 seats have been declared unopposed. Thus, polling is being held on 2,625 seats. Out of that, 980 seats of 31 district panchayats, 25 seats have been declared unopposed. Thus, the polling is being held on 955 seats. Similarly, out of 4,774 seats of 231 taluka panchayats, 117 seats have been declared unopposed. Thus, the polling there is being held on 4,655 seats, and the main fight there is between the ruling BJP and the opposition Congress party. However, Aam Aadmi Party and BSP and other political parties have also floated their candidates. Countings of vote will take place on Tuesday. Well, presenting awards to the science communicators and women scientists on the occasion of National Science Day, celebrated to commemorate the discovery of Raman effect, DST Secretary Professor Ashutosh Sharma, Department of Science and Technology Secretary Ashutosh Sharma, in fact, highlighted the importance of the science, technology and innovation and the impact it can have in future in education, in skills and also functioning of the post-pandemic world. DG CSR Shekhar Mande also underlined the importance of sustained efforts of inculcating, nurturing and unleashing the scientific temper and innovative mindset. National Science Day is celebrated every year on 28th of February to commemorate the announcement of the discovery of Raman effect by Sir C.V. Raman, the noted Indian scientist, for which he was awarded Nobel Prize in 1930.
More important, in fact, is for us to look at the contemporary implications and importance of the life and times and processes by which Raman did his famous work. So there are huge challenges in this future which is coming at us at faster and faster rate. What are these challenges? These are not ordinary challenges. These are challenges of sustainable development, indeed the very life on earth, climate change, environment, clean energy, water, resources, and the rise of intelligent machines, which certainly are going to compete with us. They are competing with us now.
इसी स्पिरिट में जो रमन साहब ने काम किया था कि एक ऑब्जर्वेशन मिला था और उसको फॉलो परस्यू किया, उसी स्पिरिट में हम लोग देखे थे कि गए साल में पूरे वर्ष में जिस तरह पूरे दुनिया की साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी की कम्युनिटी जो है उन्होंने जो काम किया है वो बहुत ही सराहनीय है, बहुत ही अच्छा काम है कि पूरी दुनिया की, विश्व की और ख़ासतर भारत की जो साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी कम्युनिटी है उन्होंने कदम पे अपने कदमों पर खड़े होकर ये दिखा दिया है कि ऐसी कोई भी चीज़ हो तो उसको हम लोग सामना कर सकते हैं.
And on News Connect, it's time to slip into a very short break. When we'll come back, we'll tell you all that is happening across the globe. Very interesting story lineup on the other side. Plus, we'll also keep an eye on COVID numbers nationally as well as internationally. News Connect, short break. Don't go away.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Muy India. Nahnu Hunud. India. Ma Hindi Hasti. Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Thanks for staying with us on News Connect. Let's now move on to news and updates on COVID front. And keeping up the pace of administering maximum number of COVID vaccine doses, the nation has achieved the milestone of administering over 1 crore 43 lakh doses till this morning, that is Sunday morning. And the second phase of vaccination for senior citizens and those above 45 years with the comorbidities also begins tomorrow, that is on Monday. Now, to ramp up the COVID vaccination capacity manifold, significantly large number of private facilities are also being roped in. Let's now take a look at these important details. Nearly 10,000 private hospitals are empaneled under Ayushman Bharat PMJY scheme. More than 600 hospitals are empaneled under CGHS and other private hospitals empaneled under state government. Health insurance schemes roped in, and health departments of the state governments have already initiated dialogue with these private hospitals so that they can be encouraged to participate in this drive. And there is a list of all these private hospitals that has been uploaded on the website of the Ministry of Family Welfare and Health and National Health Authority as well. In addition, there would be government health facilities which will be used as CVCs, such as medical colleges, hospitals, district hospitals, subdivisional hospitals. Also, adding to this, CHCs or PHCs that are public health centers, health sub-centers and health and wellness centers, they're also roped in. Geo-reference maps with GPS coordinates of all these health facilities have been prepared that will serve as CVCs, and these geo-reference maps are being shared with the state governments as well. COVID vaccination centers of the government will offer free vaccination for all, with the central government bearing the full cost of the vaccination. States have been explained that the private hospitals functioning as CVCs can charge subject to a ceiling of ₹250 per person per dose, along with the electronic and financial management mechanism in this regard. The list of private hospitals empaneled by the CGHS is available on the website of Health Ministry, that is www.mohfw.gov.in, and the list of private hospitals under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Abhiyan can also be accessed on the same website, that is www.mohfw.gov.in, and so far more than 1.5 crore vaccinations have been administered. Well, now look at the numbers. Now, India has reported 16,752 new COVID-19 cases as per the Union Health Ministry. 11,718 recoveries were recorded yesterday, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 1,07,75,169. And with this, the recovery rate currently stands at 97.10%. Recovery rate rises to 97.10%. India's fatality rate has dropped to 1.42% because of the frequent testing, tracing and treating that is proving to be great success. Fatality rate has dropped, as we mentioned, to 1.42% with 1,57,051 deaths that have been reported so far. And the number of active COVID-19 cases in India stand at 1,64,511, which is 1.48% of the total cases reported so far. Total vaccinations so far are 1,43,01,266, with 58,719 vaccinations undertaken yesterday. Meanwhile, Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba yesterday chaired a high-level meeting, review meeting with the Chief Secretaries of the states, Union Territories of Maharashtra, Punjab, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Telangana as well as Jammu Kashmir. These states and Union Territories have been reporting high active caseload or an increasing trend in new cases in the last week. The meeting, which reviewed and discussed the COVID management and response strategy, was held through video conference. 6 states, which include Maharashtra, Kerala, Punjab, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, have shown a surge in new cases in the last 24 hours. Maharashtra continues to report the highest daily new cases at 8,623. Cabinet Secretary reiterated states need to maintain a continued rigorous vigil in terms of containing the spread and not squandering away the gains of the collective hard work of the last year. They were advised not to lower their guard, enforce COVID-appropriate behavior and deal firmly with violations. And now let's shift focus to some international news. Up first, latest in Myanmar. A violent crackdown on anti-coup protesters in Myanmar has intensified on Sunday, with police using live rounds of rubber bullets and tear gas. Huge protests in cities such as Yangon, Mandalay and Diwai have continued despite police response. There are reports of fatalities, although they are difficult to confirm. The country has been rocked by protests since top government leaders, including Aung San Suu Kyi, were overthrown and detained by army on 1st of Feb. And my colleague Abhishek Jha is joining us with more updates on Myanmar. Abhishek, the situation is by the day getting worse there. Myanmar continues to explode despite a lot of international pressure. For example, the sanctions that US talked about and United Nations taking cognizance of the certain human rights reports of human rights violations reportedly. What's the latest you're picking up? Where is it heading to? Abhishek?
Sakal, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Please go ahead.
So, Sakal, it looks like the situation in Myanmar is just getting worse every day because the protesters are in no mood to let the coup, the military coup that has happened in Myanmar, go easily, and the Myanmarian current government, the Myanmarian junta, is in no mood to relent. And this looks like this continuous protest is now the administration is trying to suppress by force. There are many social media videos and footages getting on viral on internet, and some agencies are also reporting conflicting reports about the number of fatalities. But then it looks like there has been a lot more struggle between the administration and the protesters than being officially said by the Myanmar administration or the Myanmar state broadcasters and reporters. Meanwhile, we have also heard the reports from across the globe how the world leaders have expressed their concern regarding the ongoing situation in Myanmar. Most of the countries, including India, has talked about the quick and as soon as possible restoration of the democratically elected government of Myanmar led by Aung San Suu Kyi. And India is also one of the countries which has in its UN statement on Myanmar has said that India has a lot of stake in Myanmar, being the country which has a boundary border with Myanmar, and it has a lot more stake. And India, as the permanent representative, has said in United Nations that we call on Myanmar leadership to work together to resolve the differences in a peaceful and constructive manner. So while world countries are putting pressure on Myanmar, the Myanmar authorities are in no mood to pay some heed to the international community's pressure, and they are going ahead with their oppressive nature against the protesters.
Okay, Abhishek, I'm requesting you to stay with us because yes, stay with us because we're going to talk also about the Myanmar's United Nations ambassador. In fact, he was fired a day after he actually urged the UN to use any means necessary to reverse what happened on 1st of February. Any means necessary to reverse the military coup. In fact, he also had told United Nations General Assembly, remember viewers, that he was speaking on behalf of the ousted civilian government of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. State television states that he has betrayed the country and had abused the power and responsibilities of the permanent ambassador. I think Abhishek is still with us. Abhishek, a quick one on that, because his intervention at the United Nations, we are running those shots, and when he also showed that symbolic three finger, which is something which is actually symbolic of the kind of protest that we have seen in Myanmar. It seems that this all doesn't seem to have any impact or pressure on the current junta.
Okay, Sakal, of course, whatever happened in UN, the representative of Myanmar is government in UN. It was a huge embarrassment. It looked like a huge embarrassment to the Myanmar junta that maybe they will have more pressure now on them. But rather than getting pressured from whatever happened in United Nations, the representative at UN has been fired for being anti-national and all sort of things. And as of now, it's because, We have heard reports from international community that the pressure is being mounted against the ruling junta. But there are two countries at least which, one of the major countries is China, which also has a permanent seat at United Nations Security Council.
Correct.
Which has kind of said that this whole situation is a cabinet reshuffle. The term was used as cabinet reshuffle of Myanmar's government. Russia, which also has a permanent seating at United Nations Security Council, it has also called the situation in Myanmar an internal matter of Myanmar. So while the two major countries of the globe who happens to be in Asia and who happens to be directly affected by whatever happens in Myanmar, they have termed it as something of internal nature. The world, like European Union, USA, Australia, UK, they are trying to come out in support of the demonstration of peace, of pro-democracy demonstration, including India, which has also called for the restoration of the earlier government and the back to the normalcy in terms of democratic setup of governance in Myanmar. But we'll have to see how much of these pressure and how much of this scheduling to the Myanmarese junta will actually work on ground in the days to come.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. We'll have to see whether this actually is going to cut ice with the protesters. As of now, these protests seem to be unrelenting. Abhishek Jha, many thanks for joining us with those quick details. Thank you. And now let's get you the other top international story that is trending. Now, talking about United States of America, terming it as exciting news for all Americans and an encouraging development, but warning that the fight is far from over. US President Joe Biden has hailed US regulators formally approving the single-shot Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine. Now, this is the third jab to be authorized in the country, but President Biden has called this fight far from over. The vaccine is said to be cost-effective. It's said to be the alternative to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine and can be stored in a refrigerator instead of a freezer. Trials found it prevented serious illness but was 66% effective overall when moderate cases were included. The vaccine is made by the Belgian firm Janssen, and the company has agreed to provide the US with 100 million doses by the end of June. The first dose could be available to the United States public as early as next week. Meanwhile, UK, EU and Canada have also ordered these doses, and around 500 million doses have been ordered through the COVAX scheme to supply poorer nations. The authorization by the US Food and Drug Administration came after an external committee of experts unanimously backed the vaccine. Results from trials conducted in the US, South Africa and Brazil show it was more than 85% effective at prevailing serious illnesses and 66% effective overall when moderate cases were included. And notably, there were no deaths among participants who had received the vaccine and no hospital admissions after 28 days post-vaccine. And Tapas is joining us live from Newsroom. He's been tracking the story for us. Tapas, how significant is this for United States of America, considering that their numbers are still swelling? They are still one of the worst affected nations across the globe, from Trump era to Biden era. This vaccine coming within the span of 2 months almost of Biden taking over as the president.
Right, so Sakal, you're absolutely right in saying that this can actually prove to be a game changer for America, especially where more than 5 lakh people have lost their life. And this particular vaccine from Johnson & Johnson has a few special attributes. Primarily, it is fridge stable. When we call it fridge stable, what we mean is that it can be stored in the fridge rather than in a cold chain. Both Pfizer as well as Moderna vaccine require to be stored in a particular cold chain facility, and this particular vaccine doesn't need that. The second and most important part is this is a single jab vaccine. What it means is that you do not have to wait for the second adjuvant to be used, second vaccination to be given, where one has to wait for almost 28 days. So this particular vaccine can be used in a single jab to inoculate people who are either suffering from COVID or are under are what you call the frontline workers. So that is another part of it. The second and third and important part is that this particular vaccine was trialed at three. The testing trial was happening at three particular places: South Africa, Brazil, along with America. Now, when we talk about this, the Brazilian variant, which generally, which is South African and the Brazilian variant of coronavirus, which is proving to be a different kind of a variant which muted and is posing as a major challenge for the rest of the world. This particular vaccine is apparently is more effective against that particular variant, and that's one of the reason why a lot of people are hedging their money on this particular vaccine, believing that this particular vaccine can be a game changer in the fight against coronavirus. And the company also proposed to, as I said earlier, that proposed to have almost 100 million doses by the end of the March, and by the middle of the year they are planning to have more than $100 million, so 100 million jabs of this particular vaccine. So in many ways, if Johnson and Johnson vaccine is what it promises to be, this going to be
but there are a lot of comparisons also. They say reports suggesting that this is cost effective comparatively to Pfizer and Moderna, and it's 66% efficacy of it. Do you think this is going to really have an impact, considering it's already the president himself?
There are a couple of things that one has to understand. First, about the comparison between this particular vaccine along with the Pfizer, along with Moderna. Now, and the efficacy that you are talking about.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about Pfizer and Moderna, their efficacy is measured in from moderate to from normal to moderate people who have been given this particular vaccine for the trial. Now, this particular vaccine of Johnson & Johnson have been given to people with moderate to extreme cases of the coronavirus, and there it proved really effective. So 66% or more than 60% of efficacy rate in moderate to extreme cases is considered very good. So the comparison of efficacy also has to be keeping in mind the trial and the trial base of the particular vaccine and its trial stage. So that is one part of it. The second part of it is about the economy of the particular vaccine. When you talk about giving two jabs, like what one has to give for Pfizer as well as for Moderna, obviously if two jabs is going to cost you more.
Yes.
Along with the fact that both the vaccines require adjunct. So that actually increases the efficacy of those particular vaccines. This particular vaccine doesn't require it; requires single jab, and thus it's the pricing should ideally be less than what Moderna and Pfizer are going to are right now giving in comparison.
All right, Tapas Bhattacharya, thank you so much for explaining and putting this in perspective. Thank you. And staying with international news, and now it's time to take a quick look at the updates on COVID-19 front from across the globe. The tally of the people contracting the COVID-19 virus has crossed 11 crore globally. It actually stands at 11.43 crore, 11.43 crore. Basically, while more than 8 crore 99 lakh have recovered from from COVID-19, the number of lives lost due to COVID-19 across the world stands about 25 lakh 36,000. But United States still continues to remain the worst affected from COVID-19, where the cases have passed 2 crore 92 lakh. The US has also crossed new grim milestone of 5 lakh 24,000 deaths. So they have maximum cases, maximum deaths. This is followed by Brazil, which has registered over 2 lakh 24,000 fatalities. And US President Joe Biden scored his first legislative win as the House of Representatives passed his $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package earlier on Saturday. The Democrats face challenge to their hopes of using the bill to raise the minimum wage as well. The bill's big ticket items include 1,400 US dollar direct payment to individuals, which makes it to $400 per week federal unemployment benefit, through August 29, and then help for those in difficulty paying rents and home mortgages during the pandemic. In brief remarks on Saturday from the White House's Roosevelt Room, Biden said he called House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to thank her for her support and urged the Senate to take up the bill quickly. He also said that we are one step closer to helping millions of Americans feed their families.
With their vote, we're one step closer to vaccinating the nation. We are one step closer to putting $1,400 in the pockets of Americans. We're one step closer to extending unemployment benefits for millions of Americans who are shortly going to lose them. We're one step closer to helping millions of Americans feed their families and keep a roof over their head. We're one step closer to getting our kids safely back in school. And we're one step closer to getting state and local governments the money they need to prevent massive layoffs for essential workers. Now the bill moves to the United States Senate, where I hope we will receive quick action. We have no time to waste. If we act now, decisively, quickly, and boldly, we can finally get ahead of this virus. We can finally get our economy moving again.
And the action now moves to the Senate, where Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris may have to cast a tie-breaking vote in a chamber where Republicans control 50 seats and Democrats and other allies control the other 50. Meanwhile, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has highlighted the toll coronavirus has had on the African Americans. She was participating in an event celebrating the 40th anniversary of Black History Month. Harris, during her remarks, said that Black Americans have been hit particularly hard by the health and economic consequences of the pandemic. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has threatened to cut off federal emergency pandemic assistance to states that have resorted to lockdowns and curfews to quell COVID-19 cases surge in Brazil. The president said that from now on, governors who have closed down their states will have to provide for their own emergency aid. COVID-19 situation in the capital of 17 of Brazil's 26 states this week reached the most critical level since last year's peak. The South American country has registered over 1,517,000 cases of COVID-19, while it has seen more than 2,54,000 fatalities from it. From Brazil, moving on to UK, a drone video shot shortly after sunrise on Saturday showed the historic seaside in the southern city of Brighton, framed in a warm glow as the country awaited its release from lockdown. The 140-year-old structure that stretches 540 meters into the English Channel was shuttered because of the corona restrictions, as it was framed against blue skies and soft spring sunlight. You can see that on your screens. All shops and entertainment venues have been closed meanwhile since late December 2020, as the British government imposed a lockdown following a surge in COVID numbers and deaths that have since fallen sharply. Prime Minister of United Kingdom Boris Johnson last week announced a roadmap out of lockdown that could see the many other venues reopen in April. And from UK on to Paris, another video, this time from Paris, but a little contrasting. A time-lapse video shot in Paris over the past week shows busy streets and traffic reduced when the 6 p.m. curfew hits, but not completely cleared. The government has said a new nationwide lockdown was not on the agenda, and it would see next week if local weekend lockdowns would be needed in 20 areas considered very worrying, including Paris and the surrounding region. Unlike some of its neighbors, France has resisted the new national lockdown to control the spread of more contagious coronavirus variants, hoping that an overnight curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in place since December 15 can actually contain the pandemic. And with that, it's time to wrap up this edition of News Connect. Remember, this is your weekly dose of the top national and international stories, which we bring to you on weekends, Saturday, Sunday, 4 to 5 p.m. Me and my entire team, thank you for staying with us. We're going to be back next Saturday. Stay with us on DD India. Meanwhile, programming and updates continue. Namaskar.